Globe Life and Accident Insurance Company specializes in helping everyday people afford the protection of life insurance at an affordable cost. There's no waiting period and no medical exam. Only a few health questions. Best of all, the value of your policy never goes down and cannot be canceled as long as you make on-time payments. You can also give your children or grandchildren a financial head start with children's policies.
Brian McRae. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for football.
I am. It is an honor to be here sitting with you, and we are at the Leawood location, 810 Zone, 4800 West and 119th Street. I'd like to thank 810 Zone for letting us occupy their space every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock and invite you to pick up your free 2013 football guide. And another special thanks to Guitar Center in Leawood for some speaker wire.
We would be in trouble without that.
Without it, we couldn't add enjoyment to the fine clientele sitting out here trying to enjoy their meal. So there we are. All right, so basically we're going to go over the matchups. It's starting up. Football, I've been waiting since the Super Bowl, basically. I don't count the Pro Bowl. I didn't watch it. Did you watch it at all?
No, I did not. No. I stop after the Super Bowl and start getting ready for looking at what I'm going to do for next year for fantasy football.
They used to have it right after the Super Bowl, and nobody would watch it. So it was good that they moved it in between, just before the Super Bowl. But now you have players
who paid attention to it.
Well, you don't have players the people that you want to see are pretty much in the Super Bowl, so that takes away all those players. And then Matt Castle's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, it's a weird deal altogether, and I think that some of the changes they wanted to make in it were done with good intentions. But I don't think you can ever make an exhibition game into more than what it is.
And it's hard to, because with baseball, it's in the middle of the season, then you have something to play for, and depending on who wins that, they'll have home field advantage in the World Series.
But baseball is played during the regular season.
Exactly, and the All-Stars in the middle, yeah.
The game is played the same way almost all the time.
Yeah,
you don't play in any different. Football is different because the
on the mound next hour
and things like that, and like basketball with the defense, and baseball is the only All-Star game I think that is played as close to what you're going to see during the regular season, just because of the dynamics of the sport of baseball.
Yeah, unless you're throwing at somebody and they're charging them on, there's not a lot of
you're not going to see any brawls.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so speaking of injuries, we can go over some of the key injuries for this week anyways. Leading up to the regular season, Pittsburgh's running back Le'Veon Bell, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. They're saying originally 8 to 6. Or 6 to 8, now they're going 4 to 6. With a
Let's just say he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, and Redmond I think they marked as a starter. My advice, stay away from all Pittsburgh running backs. For fantasy purposes, I didn't draft any of them.
Somebody's going to score, though.
Somebody's going to score. We never know who.
Right, you never know who.
It's Denver's running back, Denver's backfield, New England's offense. As far as the receivers go, it's like you just never know. The only person you take on New England is pretty much Tom Brady and their kicker.
And you're going to have to wait to see what happens as the season goes on. That's the fun thing, though, about playing fantasy football, because there's things that you go into the season thinking about, depending on when you're doing your draft. As it gets closer to the regular season starting, injuries, cuts, player movement, that could throw a lot of things out of whack for whatever teams that you're trying to pick.
Yeah, new schemes also. So, all right, New York Giants running back Andre Brown. Normally the starters don't play the final preseason game, but apparently he was out there, kind of like Mark Sanchez was for the Jets. And
what's going on with these New York teams in preseason?
The Jets are the Jets. That is what it is. But he's going to be out with an ankle injury 4 to 6 weeks. They're now saying, and that really boosts David Wilson's value a lot. They say he's going to give him the goal line carries.
And I think a lot of people playing fantasy football might have drafted David Wilson a lot higher than he should have been because of these injury concerns, and he might be a guy that's sought after in trades and things like that in your fantasy football leagues as the weeks go on.
And if you drafted early and took David Wilson late rounds, later than he probably is now going, you're probably making out well.
And a lot of people are probably going to be trying to get a hold of you in the next couple of weeks if he does well.
Exactly, especially Andre Brown owners. You might have some trade bait there. Baltimore's tight end Ed Dixon, hamstring. He should start. No Dennis Pitta there now, so as long as he can stay healthy, Joe Flacco will be looking for him.
I think that with Baltimore, if you have to get a tight end, some leagues don't have them; they have flex. But if you have tight end, that's what you're going to look for right there.
And some flex a tight end, some don't. I think flexing the tight end is good. I remember one year I had I had Antonio Gates, and I also had Tony Gonzalez back when they were just like scoring. And,
they were like receivers then.
Yeah, the great thing about fantasy football, the main thing about fantasy football is like, well, I don't know who to take. It all depends on the rules of your league, the particular league. Some are PPR, some flex a tight end, and some allow you to do that. I helped one guy out with a draft last year, and we drafted. He had the 11th and the 13th pick coming back, or the 14th pick, 11th, 14th. So we took Jimmy Graham in the first round, and then went back with Rob Gronkowski as well.
So he went back to back.
He went back to back tight end, and he won the league. So
they do score.
Yeah.
At that time, they were scoring a lot.
In a PPR league, you want to get that for that. So Atlanta's wide receiver Roddy White, he was held out for some of the preseason games. He'll make a start. I don't think that guy has missed a game yet. He had a little ankle injury, but he should be fine for Sunday.
He's been pretty productive over the course of his career. Pretty solid fantasy football guy.
Yeah, the big love is on Julio Jones, his teammate. But Roddy White, I would take probably in PPR leagues over Julio Jones. Julio Jones is the sexy pick, the sweet. He gets downfield.
He's a name guy.
He's pretty to watch when he gets that ball aired out to him. But I think Roddy White, might have a better fantasy year. But I got to stay healthy there. Tennessee's Kenny Britt. What was it? 3 years ago, he was one of the top 5 wide receivers. He's gotten injuries now, and he's going to play. He's a lot of fluid buildup on the knee. Fluid on the knee, not good.
No, it's not good, but the reports that you hear coming out of Nashville say he's looked good in camp and that this should not be an issue.
Yeah,
he's in the best shape that he's ever been in, they say, and they're hoping that he gets back to where he was 2 or 3 years ago. And
he broke his leg. Was it last year he broke it or 2 years ago?
I'm not sure how long ago that was, but he's been fighting injury problems, being inconsistent. I drafted him in one of my leagues this year, so I'm hoping that is not the case.
And you probably took him late.
I did get him late, yes.
And he's one of the guys that could pay off. Could be a top 15 receiver at the end. Washington's quarterback, RG3. That seemed to be the big story. Was he going to start? He's going to start.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any doubt that he was going to start.
Yeah.
Now, whether he lasts the whole game.
I don't think they're going to let him run around wild like he did last time. I think they learned their lesson. They should have taken the look at Michael Vick and what they did in Philadelphia. I mean, he was great for that half. Well, he came in like week 4, I believe, and just tore it up for that season. Then they left him vulnerable, and you can't.
RG3 would be a guy for me that if I did draft him as my top quarterback, I would make sure that I had another one there that I felt confident I could plug in if he went down, because there's no telling what's going to happen with that knee.
Yeah,
what's going to happen with that offensive line? Are they going to be able to keep him off the ground? So don't take RG3 if you think he's going to be the quarterback that's going to go the distance for you on your team.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be doing exactly what he was last year, running that wild. Houston's Arian Foster, he will start, but they're saying they're going to work him in, not going to give him a full workload, not the 25 to 30 that everybody's expecting it. He's in top 5 running back, depending your league. I've seen him go as late as 9, I guess, in like a 10-12 team league. But probably overall number 2 right behind Adrian Peterson.
I think that he's a guy that everybody, even though they say they're going to limit his carries and limit his workload, that everybody suspects is going to get the bulk of the carries. And if Houston is down there close to scoring, that Foster will get the ball.
Ben Tate, the number 1 handcuff, I guess you'd want to have in fantasy football. And Tate will get a lot. I picked Tate up. Somebody else had Foster. I grabbed Tate late. And you could use him. He might just pan out, or you can use him for trade bait.
Well, what we find out, especially over the last few years, is your key players are going to get injured. Somebody's going down. Unfortunately, that's going to happen. And I think the guys that do well in all leagues are the ones that look beyond your starters and have some good backups and make some good moves to get some suitable guys there that can fill in. Because if you're counting on your main guys going out there and getting all your points week in and week out, it just doesn't happen that way anymore.
Zach, you look at the line for Houston, they're solid. Ben Tate, also, he's kind of injury prone a little bit, but Houston's got a great line. They got probably one of the best offensive line. And that people ask, how does Denver find all these great running backs, over the years? Clinton Portis and Terrell Davis. It's
whoever they put in there.
Yeah, it's the line. As long as you have a great line, Kansas State had a great line also. And they had Larry Johnson running back there, Priest Holmes running back there. And if the lines are at open holes, you can't run through, bodies. You need holes being open. So, like the Vikings, Adrian Peterson, he kind of creates his own. But when he got hurt, Toby Gerhart got in there. He was all right, but nothing special. I mean, certain players, they're special
Peterson
like
is
Adrian
on another
Peterson.
level.
He's special like that, and you get the backup. He's not going to do exactly what Peterson did because Peterson's on a whole nother level. But you got a good offensive line. I think you can plug anybody in there, as you see in Houston. Moving on, finally, to Arizona's running back Ryan Williams. Who cares? Rashard Mendenhall's, I guess, the starter, but
it's Arizona.
Arizona's horrible. They got Carson Palmer in there now, and that should be able to help Larry Fitzgerald out a little bit, but my goodness gracious.
I feel sorry for Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald, probably, I think he's the best receiver playing right now.
But I wouldn't pick him. Would you pick him with the first receiver on your team?
No. I did take him in a draft, but I got him. I went running back, and then I picked Fitzgerald up in third or fourth round. And I think you can't be any worse than he was last year. I mean, it was abysmal with Cobb back there.
Are they going to be able to get him the ball?
I think it'll be, as long as the offensive line can hold up long enough so Carson Palmer can throw it deep, I think they'll be fine.
So you're taking a gamble?
I'm taking a gamble. I think it's going to pay off. I think he'll be better than what he was last year, and that's all I'm looking. I think he'll be the main target because they got nobody else really.
No, they don't.
All right, so let's go through the matchups here. We're going to start with a Thursday night game. The Ravens at Baltimore. It's tomorrow night, 7:30 kickoff. Ravens at Broncos. It should be a great matchup. Peyton Manning versus Joe Flacco.
Rematch of last year's epic playoff game, which Denver, they still have to be kicking themselves of how they lost.
Yeah, it was some bad secondary play. People are like, Peyton Manning didn't. I'm like, Peyton Manning wasn't out there on that last play when Jacoby Jones got behind the defensive secondary. And scored the touchdown. It was a shootout, though, if you remember it. So.
It was an outstanding game, but not one that Denver. They're thinking they were going to Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, and I think they got a really good shot this year. Once Von Miller comes back, they got the last 6 weeks without him though, so the defense is going to suffer.
I think
Denver.
that in the division that they're in, that they're going to be okay.
Be all right. Lots of key members and leadership gone for the Baltimore Ravens. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, moving on, but they did draft some great guys and got some free agency. Drafted safety Matt Elam from Florida, outside linebacker Arthur Brown from Kansas State. And they got Brad Williams, defensive tackle from Missouri Southern State. And John Simon, another defensive end, drafted him out of Ohio State. So there we are. Ed Dixon's going to be back in. Let's just go to the key players here. Joe Flacco, he's got a big contract now. He's going to have to live up to it. He's a Super Bowl MVP. Not MVP, I should say, but Super Bowl winning quarterback, I guess you'd say.
Big contract, a lot of expectations. But you don't lose the leadership and the talent on this ball club on both sides of the ball that they lost from that Super Bowl team and come back stronger.
Yeah, it's going to be Anquan Bolden's gone. Also, he went to San Francisco.
I'm looking at this ball club and saying, people are going to expect great things. I don't think they're there yet with what they lost. It just doesn't happen that way. And Flacco could put up better numbers. But still, the team's not. I don't think they're going to play as well.
And Ray Rice. I mean, they're going to feature Ray Rice a lot, but he's another year older. So Bernard Pierce, I think he's be a nice play for a PPR league. If you got a PPR, I think they get him some work. People drafted Ray Rice really high, expecting him to be what he's always been. He's another year older, and they got Bernard Pierce there as well. They got a good full black blocking for him, but
I think Rice is going to get beat up because they're going to rely on him too heavily, because who's Flacco going to throw to?
Yeah, I mean, they got Torrey Smith out there, and I like him, but he's going to be feast or famine. But he used to be like straight down the middle. I had him on my fantasy team last year. I used to fly, do a lot of streaks down the sidelines, but he's going to be a little bit over the middle like Percy Harvin was a year ago with the Vikings.
I just think that the numbers across the board
will go down.
Will go down for any Baltimore Raven that you think is going to do something offensively.
For Denver, as we mentioned, no Von Miller. He's out for 6 games. Peyton Manning is a stud. Peyton Manning's you have to look at the NFL, I think, differently now as opposed to back in the the 80s. As far as offenses go, you can't really put their stats today against stats from back then. I think Joe Montana one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play. But Peyton Manning, bar none for me, is probably
different era, different style of play. Rules are different with what defenses can and can't do.
He's like a coach out there. I mean, he basically runs the show out there.
And the way the game is set up right now is it's offensive minded. Offense can do pretty much what they want to do. Defense, if they do anything, the DBs touching linebackers touching anybody, it's a penalty. It'd be hard to be a defensive coordinator right now, the way the game is structured, because every advantage goes towards the offense, and Peyton Manning is as good as anyone in taking advantage of those things.
Big question for fantasy people out there is the running back position for Denver. The situation, Hillman is designated the starter. They say they're going to use everybody. They really want to get Monte Ball. They want to make him the feature back, but he has trouble blocking. Sean Moreno's a great blocker.
Staying healthy.
And hold on to the ball for that much. Yeah, and staying healthy. I think
so. There are three big keys that go against having somebody staying in the lineup.
I drafted Sean Moreno a little bit late. I figure if they're going to run a hurry-up offense, they're not going to have time to switch running backs in and out while they're going down the field. They can keep the running back on. I think they're probably going to run these guys series, have maybe Ball out there for one series, and the next series will be Moreno, and then another series Hillman.
Go with the hot hand.
Yeah, but I think Peyton Manning is their guy. If they lose him, that team is done. You saw it in Indianapolis when they had Painter, was that his name? The backup for Manning when Manning went out. But
that's why they were able to get Andrew Luck.
Exactly, fell apart. So they need to keep Manning upright, and I think the best pass blocker is going to be the one that's out there for the most. And my money's on Sean Moreno. So, as we mentioned before, and the same with New England, pick your poison for your receiver. It's very hard to tell. And Manning doesn't care who's getting paid the most, who's the biggest name. He's going to find the receiver that's open.
I think everybody's going to be productive in this offense.
And I have one guy in one of my leagues, and I don't know why he did this, but he drafted pretty much every key position for Denver on his starting team. He drafted Ball, he drafted Sean Moreno, he drafted Manning, he drafted Decker, he drafted Wes Welker.
So that off week, he's going to have to make a lot of changes.
He's going to I think it was week 9, I believe, is when Denver's on a bye. He's going to run a little trouble there.
Going to have to get a whole new team.
You know what? And if it works out, the thing with this guy, he would draft I think he had 4 tight ends he drafted last year. He finished second in the league. He won it one year. Last year he finished second. If he pulls this off, I might have to go fantasy football.
There's a method to his madness.
Excuse me?
There's a method to the madness there.
Apparently. He's got his kicker. He's got the defense. So best luck to him. Yeah, Manning has shown in Indianapolis he can have 3 receivers go over 1,000 yards and have at least 10 touchdowns. He's done it before. Will he do it again? It's very hard to do, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Manning.
It doesn't mean that those receivers, that tandem, can't be productive and help out your teams. You can pick 3 or 4 guys, and they're going to be able to give you points every weekend because Manning's going to put the ball in the air. Yeah, they're going to score a lot of points.
I think they brought Wes Welker, and I think he's going to PPR play. Decker, I gotta love that guy because he's from the University of Minnesota. He's tough as nails when he's out there. And Demaryius Thomas, they're the number 1 wide receiver. I think they'll all get a lot of good looks. Another sneaky guy is their tight end, Julius Thomas. He's had trouble staying healthy, but there's going to be a lot of way
to get him the ball too.
Yep, there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed in Denver. I'm actually thinking about picking him up. I wanted to try to grab Jimmy Graham early on. He fell to somebody else, and I think him. So I was going to go for Jordan Cameron, who's my sneaky tight end play for the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. My best friend Dan sniped him from me, so I picked up Bennett for Chicago. But I think about dropping Bennett and picking up
thinking about dropping somebody before games even started?
I might. Julius Thomas is a very, very sneaky play, so he's finally healthy. He could get a lot of looks from Manning, depending. So, Matt Prater, the kicker, very good kicker. The way I always look at kickers, I don't know if you do the same thing. I look for a kicker that's on a decent team that can move the ball but can't convert in the red zone. Who's going to get a lot of field goal tries, and you don't have a quarterback like you do down in New Orleans. Sometimes going for it on 4th and 1, and they can just kick a field goal. So I look for Raiders should have a good season. They're in high altitude in Denver. The only bad side is when it gets cold out there, it starts snowing. It's hard to kick in.
I look for defenses or offenses that just can't score at all, like the Oakland Raiders.
But Sebastian Janikowski, one of the only kickers I know of taken in the first round. But the guy can kick it far, but he ain't kicking it from their own 30-yard line.
And he's getting up there in years, so he's a guy that you don't count on because now the Raiders don't score.
Exactly.
They don't have scoring opportunities at all. So he's a guy that's kind of fallen off with fantasy fans because the Raiders get 2 scoring opportunities a game.
Rule of thumb is to stay away from all Oakland Raiders, and
I don't think they exist in fantasy football.
It's going to be a rough one. I've heard people say play any defense that is playing Oakland that week, or the Jets. So I
think the Jets may one up Oakland right now.
Yeah,
as long as Geno Smith is back there.
It's going to be if he can stay healthy. It's going to be a rough year anyways for both teams. Let's see. Moving on, I think we can go to Sunday's games. I believe we covered Thursday. We'll take a break. We'll go to the Sunday matchups and get to the Monday matchups as well. You are watching, I guess,
and listening.
Watching and listening. I hope you're listening too, because watching you'd have to be a lip reader to pick all this up. The Fantasy Football Show on 810 WHB TV. We'll be back in a moment.
Since 1992, Golf MD has been building golf clubs for amateurs to touring professionals.
I've been coming to the Golf MD for years. These guys definitely know what they're doing.
With 3 launch monitor hitting bays, putter fitting studio, the only 100 best club fitter in Kansas by Golf Digest magazine, and a charter dealer for the #1 shaft on tour, Fujikura, we are committed to making sure your clubs fit and perform the way they should. Golf MD, we're here to help you be the best golfer you can be. We build what we fit.
You don't just punch off, you don't skate. If you lean into me.
At pvskc.com. Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
All right, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Show, 810 WHB TV. Check us out online. And, all right, let's get with the here with Brian McRae, the Royals' great outfielder. I was reading up a little bit about you. I was mostly a Twins fan growing up, being from the Twin Cities. Got over there? There you go.
I played well against the Twins. Had some good series there in the dome. Because at those days, early in my career, they were pretty good in 90, 91. But after that, we beat up on them pretty good. Yeah. I enjoyed going to Twin Cities, though.
Yeah, it's a nice area. They finally got out of that god-awful Metrodome. And the Vikings will get out of there soon. Nice field. Have you been to Target Field yet?
Not for a game. I got to tour it once.
Okay.
They did a good job with it.
And Coppin Field, I went there too. It's very nice, very nice. All right, let's get to the Sunday games here. Most people are going to be watching the Chiefs manhandle the Jacksonville Jaguars, but for you fantasy fans, you'll probably have the Red Zone channel on or checking around all the games here. First match we got is the Patriots versus the Bills. Is a 12 o'clock game. And what don't you like about one team, and what can you possibly like about the other? Patriots, they got to be heavy favorites here. I got Tom Brady as a 5-star player in this one. He should have no problem. He's lost a lot of his weapons. New England by 10. That's the line on this one so far. So New England's supposed to.
And you don't see a lot of NFL games in double digits.
And not early in the season like this. Usually they wait a little while and see how the teams are going to be. But the people in Vegas know what they're doing down there. So Tom Brady, he's lost pretty much all of his weapons. Rob Gronkowski's still probably 2 weeks away. They got the running back still with Stephen Ridley, Shane Vereen. Like Brady a lot, he's going to get it done. Everybody worries about Wes Welker moving on, but they've filled that gap with Danny Amendola for the Rams. Amendola, a great PPR play, probably a 4-star player, maybe a 5 in PPR leagues. Big name Zach Zutfeld for a tight end for the Patriots. Was going to be like this real sneaky tight end that everybody's going to grab, but a lot of people talking him up, and everybody knows about him. So. What do you think about Zutfeld?
I don't think that he's a secret anymore.
He's not. No, he's not a secret. He's that tall, lengthy kind of basketball kind of guy. He's got Hernandez's size.
And the way the Patriots use the tight end, no matter who's there, they've been able to use that position as someone that can get downfield. They target a lot. So I think that we're going to see more of the same.
For the most part, I mean, Brady he makes nobody somebody's, for the next year.
He's going to have to do that a lot more.
Yeah.
With his,
he will.
With his main targets out. But I think that system that they have there in place, kind of like Denver's system with running backs, it works. And you can plug multiple people in there, and they're going to be successful.
And Bill Belichick, it's hard to figure out who's going to actually get the catches, get the rushes, especially in the backfield. The backfield's very hard. Before they used to give it to Wes Welker, and they had Rob Gronkowski out there and Hernandez. The backfield, it's always a guessing game, but it looks like they finally nailed it down with Stephen Ridley. Should get most of the work, but you got Shane Vereen. He's going to be a nice change of pace back, and very, very good player for PPR leagues. I think people will be pleased with him. If you're in a PPR league, you got Shane Vereen. You might have got him around the 6th round in a standard 10-team league, so I think you'd be pleased with him. The big question, it's basically spinning a wheel and trying to guess who it's going to be. Kimbrel Tompkins, Aaron Dobson, Julian Edelman. All 3 receivers will be Edelman's been there before, but the sexy play, I guess, would be Tompkins, Kimbrel Tompkins. They're looking to get him as kind of wide receiver. I guess Amendola would be considered. I would think Amendola would be a 2 receiver being in slot, but
you never know with that team.
Exactly. I mean, probably the most looks I would guess is Tompkins, who'd be out on the field most. So that's kind of what you got to go with. Got Steven Gostkowski, the kicker. He's always good. And the defense ranks 6th overall this year. They've kind of showed it up there and should be strong again.
The only thing I don't like about the Patriots, if you're going to take their defense, is
the secondary.
The secondary, yeah. And if you want points from getting interceptions and maybe an interception return for a touchdown, or even kickoff or punt, that special teams unit. And the secondary, they just, for me, when I'm looking at what I'm trying to do, building my teams in fantasy football, I want them to score. I want a lot of points from my defense.
But it's so hard to predict touchdowns. I mean, offensively, it's hard to predict touchdowns. Defensively, that's why I always drafted defense in the last round. I mean, I held over in a keeper league. I had the option to hold over Seattle's defense. There was nobody else on the roster that I actually wanted to keep, so I decided to keep Seattle's defense for a year. But it's so hard. Arizona, Tennessee, they had like 9 defensive touchdowns. So it's very hard to predict that.
Now, I just look at who some of the playmakers are on defense.
Now, do you do IDP leagues also?
Yes.
I'm not. That's your wheelhouse then, because I don't really do IDP leagues. I know some of the main, secondary linebackers and stuff like that, but IDP leagues, it's so much. It's a whole nother territory.
I do a little bit of everything in all my leagues, just because I kind of, I'm with my friends in one league, with co-workers in another league, and they wanted to set up a different way. So I think I found a nice balance of what to do and kind of how to understand all the leagues. And there's different mindset to different leagues and how you want to go about and putting your team together.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the Buffalo side of the ball. E.J. Manuel has been named the starter. If he can stay healthy, I think they have a decent shot, better than with Toole in there.
I don't like rookies.
Yeah, that's true, especially under the beating your signal caller. It does give a boost to CJ, the killer Spiller, I think, though. I have him drafted in the first round of my league on Monday night, Labor Day night. I think it helps him out. At least you have Manuel that can run the ball and kind of keep the defenses.
We don't know about his knee.
Yeah,
that's coming back pretty quick from a procedure on his knee.
He's a better runner. He's probably the better option at quarterback over Toll.
Yeah, for that ball club. But does that mean that
I don't?
They're going to
his
get
accuracy.
some points?
Yeah, I mean,
what are they going to be able to do? The Patriots D can just play the run and force Manuel to try to beat him with his arm, which would negate what CJ could do. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, what
kind of offense they're going to bring out there, how wide open they're going to be with the rookie, and what the Patriots do on defense.
That's another thing you got to look at in fantasy football. I mean, if you have a stud running back, if he's on a bad team, kind of like Spiller, if they get down by 40 points, what they could be by halftime in this
he ain't
one,
the ball.
He's not going to get the ball. Then you got to start looking at the receivers, and that's where Steve Johnson comes into play. Garbage time fantasy points is still fantasy points.
Points are points.
Brian Hartline did that a lot with Miami last year. I mean, he's not a stud receiver, but he's going to get a lot of tosses, and they could be up by 40 points, and the defense kind of play off them and just give them the yards, And at least if they win by 20, they're still going to win by 20. They don't really care if they scores or not.
I think Buffalo is going to have a hard time creating offense.
That's true. Yep.
Early in the season with a rookie quarterback. A lot of turnover there with that ball club. I would be more apt to stay away from any offensive guys. You have them on your roster. I wouldn't play them until we kind of figure out what's going on, what direction that offense is going.
Yeah, and I drafted 9th. I mean, C.J. Spiller was the best player available at that time.
Right, I'm not saying don't stay away from the guys, but just watch.
Temper your expectations for some of these guys. Robert Woods, another receiver for the Bills, could be a sneaky wide receiver 3 down the road, but it's a wait and see. And as most of these games are, some teams you kind of know what they got, like with San Fran, with Seattle.
But the majority of them,
a lot of them, you kind of got to wait and see what's going to happen, who's going to be getting the ball after the first week.
We'll have a better idea 3 weeks from now.
Exactly, and that's when you can start finding, okay, their kicker's kicking a lot of field goals, or this defense is actually, looking pretty solid. So that's usually when I start grabbing. That's why I lead the kicker and the defense towards the end, because usually like by week 5, week 6 is the
changes.
time. Week 5, week 6 is probably the time that I'm going to make that change at those positions. All right, so next up we have, let's see, the Bengals and the Bears. New head coaching in the Windy City.
Well, when I look at this matchup, I look at a team in the Bears that have new coaching. They have Brandon Marshall, who is coming off an injury, and there have been a lot of talk in Chicago about the team pushing him to get back on the field when he's not ready. There could be some turmoil there. You don't know how healthy Brandon Marshall is.
He's going to get the ball,
He's going to get the ball if he's healthy, but how healthy is he?
That's stressing out. They say they're going to spread the ball around a lot more. I don't see it. I can see maybe Forte getting a lot more looks for catches, a lot more receiving yards.
He should get some more looks. The line has been a big question there. Can they protect Jay Cutler?
Yeah, and he's maybe a second quarterback, maybe a backup quarterback. If you have somebody like maybe Colin Kaepernick or Russell Wilson, you need RG3. You want to get a backup.
I have him as a backup quarterback on one of my teams, and the concern with me is
he whines a lot.
not only whines a lot, throws a lot of interceptions,
Yeah.
and he's on his back a lot, which means that he could get hurt.
Exactly.
So I don't want him as my number one guy. He may be a guy that can fill in a few weeks from me, but with all the changes that have gone on with this ball club and with Brandon Marshall maybe not being 100% right now, I may sit Brandon Marshall if I had him on my team for the first week or two just to see.
You sit him this week, though? You got to start him this week, though. If he's out there, you got to play him.
I just have to check the reports, and the way they're talking about him is he's not 100% yet, and he feels like the team is pushing him to play when he's not ready. So that might be a game time decision.
Now, you thinking Marshall, or are you thinking Wallace for Miami?
No, Marshall.
They're saying he's being pushed too much. All right. Yeah, I would. If I had him, I wouldn't draft him because I don't believe in drafting. I mean, the receiver, it's really, really deep this year, so I kind of held off on receiver. Running back is kind of like what you really need to draft early on.
But I think it's a situation where you have to watch and see maybe, up till the last minute before you have to set your roster, check the reports, what's going on in Chicago, how's he feeling, to do those type of things.
Are his needs being met?
I think it's his hip, actually. Or
no, just are his needs being met?
Oh, needs being met. Yeah.
Is he happy?
Is he happy? Because he's a moody guy.
Aren't we all sometimes? Aren't we all? So if Matt Forte, a good play there. Michael Bush probably going to be getting the goal line carries. If you don't draft Matt Forte, I think he's going to get a lot of goal line looks. He's not a goal line guy.
You don't draft him thinking that he's going to score a lot.
He's a PPR play, and he gets one. He can break them. Yeah, I've seen him go 75, 80 yards. He stays healthy. He's usually on the field for that. So for the receivers, Brandon Marshall, we talked about him. Alshon
if healthy,
Jeffries.
He's a 5-star. He's
a PPR stud though.
Right.
He'll win you. Wouldn't he have like 100
yourself?
He had like 170 targets or something like that last year. It was just crazy. Jay Cutler is in love. It should be Jay Cutler on a tree. Jay Cutler, Hearts, Brandon Marshall. All right, for Cincinnati, Andy Dalton's back there again. The big talk is the sexy rookie Giovanni Bernard and Benjarvis Green-Ellis. I think Benjarvis Green-Ellis, he's a starter. He's going to get most of the work. He's not a sexy player by any means, but he gets the job done.
Gets the job done, and he's a guy that could move to the next level with another solid year.
But he's getting up in age, and I think Giovanni Bernard, he's a decent PPR play. They said they're going to line him up all over the place.
And I think that's good news because that means they're going to use him.
He's good. I think he'd be a good flex play. I don't think you want to go with him as like one of your running back two, but a flex player. I think.
But he's going to get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, AJ Green. I've never owned him, but every time I play against this guy, he always seems to rack up like 2-3 touchdowns on my team. Drives me insane. And he plays for Cincinnati, and I'm a Browns fan, so it rubs me the wrong way.
It bothers you.
It bothers me. Yes, it's like a sliver under the skin. You just can't quite get out. Just annoying, like a little itch on your back you can't reach. AJ Green, he's the second best receiver out there, so I think he's behind Calvin Johnson, and I think he's a great play. And it's just amazing that Andy Dalton, that red-headed quarterback, can get him the ball, and just you think they'd have more guys on AJ Green. They don't have a lot of receiver weapons for Cincinnati. You think they just put more people on AJ Green and just leave it at that. But the he finds ways to get in the end zone. So there you are. All right, let's move on to speaking of my Browns, the Browns are taking on the Dolphins. It's in Cleveland. I think the Browns actually looking a lot better than they have been for a while. They've moved from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense. I think they've shored that up, and I like what they're going to be doing in Cleveland. Brandon Weeden, you hear the name, and some people are mostly like, who? But, he's the quarterback for the Browns.
Or why?
He's getting up there. He's getting a little older. Not as old as you and I, but for a quarterback, this is his third year, I believe. He's 28 or something like that.
He played minor league baseball.
Yep. Was it with the Yankees, I think?
He was drafted, I think, by the Yankees. He's played in the Royal system, too.
Okay. And he is what he is. Trent Richardson's the focal point of this offense. Should be getting a lot. Sneaky play.
Is he overhyped or not?
What's that?
Is he overhyped?
They all thought he was going to be like the next Adrian Peterson, but I think he's actually I like him.
Not that he's a not bad player, but I think that just the hype that he came into the league with.
Yeah, he was the next. Yeah, he was the next Adrian. It's hard to measure up to those standards. He looked great last year, and better catcher, a better receiver than a lot of people gave him credit for. I think he saw it last year, and I think that'll continue this year. The receivers, Greg Little will be out there, Devon Best will be out there for this first 2 games. The main guy, if you grabbed him, Josh Gordon. If he can stay out of trouble, he got substance abuse in college. He got busted again. He's out for 2 games. When he comes back, if he can stay out of trouble, I think Josh Gordon is a really sneaky play and could pay off big dividends for the Browns.
Maybe a guy that you drafted late or pick up off the free agent wire.
He might still be available. A lot of people kind of on him. They know he's good. They know but some people, might have scared off because he was going to be out for 2 games. But it's like Gronkowski. I mean, he's not on the same level, but I think he could pay off for if you've drafted him. The tight end Jordan Cameron. I'm expecting big things out of this guy. I mentioned before, my best friend Dan pretty much sniped him from me. He sat across the table and he was like, Clay, Brown, what do you think about Jordan Cameron? First time I just ignored him because I'm like, I can't believe he just asked me that question. So I just kind of played it off like I didn't hear him. He asked me again. I'm like, no, whatever. Yeah, it's all right. He plays for Cleveland, take that for what it's worth. Took him anyway. Oh my, I was a little upset about that.
So he knew you were a Browns fan.
He knew I'm a Browns fan. He's a Cowboy fan. So he's on the winning end of most of our bets. But I got to stay true to my Cleveland Browns. I've been a fan of them. People ask me the main question people ask me is like, I say, what kind of fan are you? I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. The first question they ask is why. I said, I don't know. I just they have plain helmets. I used to watch them with Webster Slaughter and Brittany Kozar and the original Clay Matthews back in the day. So they got rid of Phil Dawson though, which I'm kind of upset about though. He went to San Francisco, so Phil Dawson was like one of the last original members on the team when they moved back, or when they got. We were going to say in the football league, they got moved to Baltimore and they came back. But Phil Dawson will be missed. He will be missed. Moving into Miami, not a lot here. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a good quarterback, but he plays on a horrible team.
I think there's some intriguing players here because Tannehill, you hear different stories that he may have turned the corner and turned himself into a decent NFL quarterback.
Was it the Hard Knocks show? They featured Miami on there. I think it was like last year or the year before they featured Miami on Hard Knocks. So Tannehill, he's a good quarterback. He's just got he's got Mike Wallace. That's one guy. And once he left Pittsburgh, just hasn't been the same. Mike Wallace.
Look who he has throwing him the ball. Though I think.
Yeah, I think he had much more weapons. They left him open a lot more to get downfield. He made that great catch.
And he had a better quarterback.
Yeah, and Ben Roethlisberger,
he's not what he was, but he's
not amazing, but he's better than what they got in Miami right now.
Right, and I think that's what Mike Wallace has found out.
He's gonna have to suck it up though and play though. So Brian Hartline, like I said before, could get a lot of garbage time points. He did last year. It was like last year he had
their points.
So it was like 14 catches. He had like 170-some yards. The 1 week I left him on my bench. I had him there, but I didn't play him, and that was like 30-some odd points in a PPR league on my bench. It was a little disheartening. Brandon Gibson comes over from the Rams. He's kind of a wait-and-see player. And their tight end, Charles Clay. Yes, I don't know who he is.
I don't think they were going to be using him much.
But Anthony Fasano, though, if you think back, he got a lot of love.
They used him a lot. But I think that this ball club here, what they're going to do,
they're going to run the Lamar Miller
till
the wheels fall off.
And he's a smaller back, and they say he has picked up the blocking schemes a little bit better, which was a knock on him. Why he wasn't on the field as much. I still think Daniel Thomas is going to be a sleeper on this team.
You really think he is?
Yeah. I think that he's going to get enough playing time and enough touches, and he may be the guy that gets the ball on the goal line.
It could be. I'm going to agree to disagree. I think Lamar Miller, he's named the starter. I think Daniel Thomas he's had his chances. I don't think they like what he's saying in the front office, so I think it's going to be Lamar Miller. But
I don't know if Lamar Miller can stay healthy and take the pounding that it takes to be an every down running back.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then yeah, you gotta grab. even if Daniel Thomas was a starter, I don't know if I would want him. I wouldn't
Somebody's got some of these teams. Somebody has to get the ball.
Yeah, but I don't feel good even having him out there. I would maybe look at a flex option like Shane Vereen, maybe as my running back 2, then put Daniel Thomas out there. He frightens me a little too much, but we'll see what happens as the season goes on. All right, Minnesota Vikings are at the Detroit Lions. We'll kind of run through some of these real quickly here. What do you like about this matchup?
Well,
what do the Vikings have other than Adrian Peterson?
Well, that is about it. And that's all they need.
They do have the new rookie wide receiver Cordell Robinson, I believe it is.
But rookies, going into week 1,
Cordell Patterson, sorry.
You're going with the knowns rather
True.
than the unknowns for the most part. And what we know here is the Vikings are going to give the Lions a steady dose of Adrian Peterson.
It's going to be Adrian Peterson all day long. And once they work Cordell Patterson in, I think it'll be a nice play. Is he Percy Harvin-ish? That's what they're going to try to do with him. He's a nice play if you get points for returns, because he'll be back there with the fielding punts and stuff like that. So, could show up in PPR leagues.
But for fantasy purposes, I don't think you're getting a lot of points or expecting a lot of points out of Vikings players.
Other than AP
other than
and Blair Walsh, their kicker. Because they can move the ball a little bit, and Blair Walsh, he was like the number 1 the kicker last year in fantasy. And, it'll be the Adrian Peterson show as it usually is.
But it's all on him, and I'm not a big fan of Ponder, the quarterback, as far as doing anything.
Did you see him on
special.
Sports Science?
They
had the clay pigeons zooming out there, and he had to throw the ball. He had like 3 clay pigeons in a row.
So if there are pigeons on the field, we're going to be okay?
If somebody's shooting clay pigeons, he will be able to hit them better than the receivers, I think.
Some teams that went out and got Matt Castle may be in better shape later in the year, because I think Castle – I think he'll play.
Matt Castle played on a very good offense in New England. He came to Kansas City. He showed his true colors.
But I think,
granted, Romeo Crennel is not the greatest head coach. But
I just think he may be able to do some things if Ponder struggles with that offense, because it's better than what he had here in Kansas City.
Yeah, but Percy Harvin did very well when Ponder was in there with the dump offs. But you might look at Kyle Rudolph, the tight end. A lot of people like him. He's kind of hit and miss, and he drops a lot of passes, especially in the end zone. So let's move to the Detroit Lions. What do you like about them?
Well, I like that they have offensive weapons that can score me points. If I had some of their players on my fantasy team.
Calvin Johnson's the main guy there.
He's the main guy. But if you look around with that ball club, they have other.
They now have Reggie Bush there, which he will be a very big.
He's gonna help. That's a big addition. That's gonna take some pressure off of Calvin Johnson.
He was taken in I think second round or maybe early third round, late second, early third for running back in PPR league. He could get 80 catches in this offense. I think they're gonna throw a ton, and I think Reggie Bush.
The ball's gonna be in his hands a lot.
Yep,
and that's a good thing.
So we got Calvin Johnson. Ryan Broyles, he is also there. Nate Burleson, I think, is actually the second wide receiver
and he's
on the
solid.
depth chart. But I think I like Broyles a little bit better. I don't think Nate Burleson is going to stay healthy. He's getting older. He's very injury prone.
And that's been the last 2 or 3 years he's been injury prone. But I think if he can stay healthy, he's solid. They have weapons, and they have multiple players that I think are going to have an opportunity. They're going to move the ball around. They're going to be a very, I think, dynamic offense as far as being able to go up and down the field and have chances to score a lot. So I think that 4 or 5 of the players on this roster on the offensive side would be guys that I wouldn't mind having on my fantasy teams.
How many games do you think Ndamukong Suh is suspended for this year?
Just 2.
I was thinking around 2 also.
Yeah.
just 2 games. No big deal. All right, let's go to the Raiders. The Raiders are at Indianapolis. You could possibly see Terrell Pryor throwing up 30 points in this one. A lot of people do these knockout eliminator leagues, and everybody. Indianapolis is the big pick of flat out winning this game. No big deal. But you possibly could see Terrell Pryor maybe put up 30 points and then surprise everybody. Or he could just be a total.
And that'd be the most points he'd probably ever score in fantasy football.
His completion percentage is 53% this year. Last year in limited action, it was 47%. Not good. The only guy on this team is Darren McFadden. I believe the Raider that's going to have the most fantasy points by the end of the year is their kicker, Sebastian Janikowski.
And it's not going to be a whole lot, but it's
it'll be something on that team.
No, McFadden is not the same guy that he was a few years ago when he was somebody that you wanted to have on your team.
Yeah.
I think you get him now. Pardon me?
The Polish powder keg.
No, I'm talking about McFadden.
McFadden?
Yeah,
I will never draft McFadden.
No,
ever.
Now I wouldn't. I would stay away from him.
Like 3 years ago, people are like, McFadden, this is his year, I'm like, yeah, if he can stay healthy, but he can never stay healthy.
No.
And be like, well, you can't predict that. I'm like, you kind of can with this guy.
You can't predict health.
With Darren McFadden. The receivers, Denarius Moore, Jacoby Ford.
Who's going to get them the ball?
They'll have a couple nice games, maybe 2 or 3 games. They'll have 117 yards and maybe 2 touchdowns, but it's so few and far between.
It's going to be hard for whoever.
If Carson Palmer can't get them the ball repeatedly, I don't think Terrell Pryor is going to be the guy that's going to do that.
That's going to be an ugly offense to watch.
Their defense is ranked 32nd in the league starting out of the gate here, and I think that's a good ranking for them. Indianapolis, Andrew Luck is back, second season. Looked really good. A lot of the rookie quarterbacks, RG3, Andrew Luck, looked very good.
They look better than good, but I think that was a year that was kind of odd.
But I think RG3, they didn't really know what to do with him. But Andrew Luck, he's a pocket thrower. He does run the ball. He's going to get you some rushing touchdowns.
Classic.
He's a standard pocket passer, and I thought he did very well. A lot of people didn't take Reggie Wayne last year because they got Andrew Luck in there. He's a rookie quarterback. They're going to be Reggie Wayne had a very good year last year,
and people had written him off.
Yeah, he gets older year after year, 1 year older every year, but he still produces. Had a lot of receptions last year. T.Y. Hilton, technically, Denarius Haywood-Bay is the second receiver.
But I think it's going to be T.Y. Hilton.
It's T.Y. Hilton, and I don't think it's even close. I think it's we're going to name Haywood-Bay the starter, but it's going to be all T.Y. Hilton. I can see him doing his little T.Y. dance in the end zone quite often. We have a new offensive coordinator, Pep Hamilton, for Indianapolis. And he features the tight ends a lot. So if you wanted a tight end, you didn't grab Graham or Gronkowski possibly, or Cameron like did in the later rounds. You might want to look at one of the receivers. Colby Fleener is the starter for the tight end position, and Dwayne Allen as well. Could get a lot of looks, a lot of play.
I think that the receivers still are going to be the ones that do the most damage for Indianapolis.
But they're playing against a tough offense that likes to rush. Possibly they might check down to the tight end. The big thing about their receivers, their tight ends, is can they stay healthy? So they're both kind of coming back from injury. If you had to pick one, I'd probably go with Fleener on that. So let's do 2 more here, and then we'll get to another little break here. Let's go for. Now we got the Bucs Jets. How about the Falcons and Saints? That's going to be a very, very good game there. Atlanta taking on New Orleans in the Big Easy.
A lot of points should be scored in this ball game.
Lots of points. I don't know what the over-under is, but I'm going to go 57.
I like that.
Sound about right. Offensively, they both score a lot of points. Defensively, they're both. I'd probably go with Atlanta over New Orleans. Of course, they could tighten it up now. Now they have everybody back, including the head coach. But the Saints, one thing you could do is you could throw
score.
You could score on them, throw on them.
You could score. You could do whatever against them last year. And I think that it's going to be more of the same, that they're going to struggle defensively. So I probably would not pick them as my defensive team. But
no, not at all. You don't
offense, you just say, look at. Well, they got 5 guys.
For the Saints, yeah.
For the Saints that you could pick that could be, in the top 5 rounds of your fantasy football draft.
Yep, you got Breeze. You got Sproles and PPR leagues, that's the guy you're going to want. But in the backfield, you got Mark Ingram, you got Pierre Thomas. Receivers, you
Jimmy
got
Graham.
You got Colson. Colson, I don't like that guy. He does produce, but I can't. There's something about him. That's a guy I will never ever draft in a league. I don't. There's something about him. It's hard. One is
subtle differences you have with guys.
I don't know what it is.
Because it has nothing to do with if he gets you points on your team. This is like you got to hang out with the guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm not having drinks on him after the game, but
my personal feelings toward players have nothing to do with how I pick.
I don't have any personal feelings against the guy. It's just somebody
you just don't like him.
I see Colson up there. I'm like, I can't do it because he'll have some great games, but he'll get injured also, and he'll be lost in the shuffle of others while Lance Moore is getting the ball, and he's going to be more involved. I think it's very hit and miss. The true play PPR leagues, I think you got Sproles and you got Drew Brees. That's about really, and Jimmy Graham. Those are the three guys you can really rely on the Saints. Everybody else, it's kind of they'll have up and down games,
but they will have enough to where if you pluck them in at that right time,
depending on the matchup,
that somebody is going to benefit for putting them in the lineup.
For Atlanta, Matt Ryan, he had a great season last year. I helped the guy helped out with the two tight ends at the beginning of the first two rounds. We also grabbed Matt Ryan like in the 5th or 6th round. He paid big dividends for us. They got Steven Jackson back there now. No more Michael Turner, the burner Turner.
It'd be interesting to see how Steven Jackson adjusts to being in Atlanta, different ball club. The way they're going to use him there is different than where he was used in St. Louis. So this will be one of those things, as we talked about earlier, you have to kind of wait and see.
A lot of people like him, though. They think he's going to be, he's younger, he's fresher. He played in a bad bad Rams team. But that line, they're great pass blockers. They cannot open up holes, though, to save the life for Atlanta.
He's not the focal point of that offense.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, and that probably be the only thing that saves him. While they're looking down the field at Julio Jones and Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez, they might be able to get that might ease up a little bit.
So I think there's something in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season to watch out for, how he is used and how they spread the ball around on that team.
I did get him for like my third running back, which is kind of crazy, but he'd be.
Then there are a lot of people that are kind of apprehensive of, he's coming from a place where he was the offense, to a place where there's other weapons out there.
And he did well. He wasn't Barry Sanders-ish, when everybody knew that he was going to get the ball,
right?
And they still couldn't stop him.
But he's going from a second division team to a team that thinks they have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
And he can catch the ball. He's got some pretty good hands out there too. Final one here before we take a little break. Let's look at the Bucks and the Jets. Get that one out of here. It shouldn't be too long here. Tampa Bay. Their main feature is Doug Martin. They call him the muscle hamster, but he doesn't like that. He doesn't like being called the muscle hamster. Did you hear that? But everybody still refers to him as the muscle hamster. I'm like, Doug Martin's going to come onto your set one of these times and cold cock you for calling him a muscle hamster. But Doug Martin, great play, and a lot of people are, keeper leagues especially, they're rejoicing because they got him in 6th, 7th round.
They got him for nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he's one of those players that just got. He did well, and he's there to stay. I've seen him go as early as number 2 overall. Usually find him in the top 5 though. They're going to feature him. They have their offensive line. They're all back now. They got a really strong offensive line, so I think they're gonna run him till his wheels fall off. But I don't think
they want the ball in the air very much from Josh Freeman.
Yeah, and
I think this is his year to show that he can stay in the league as a number 1 starting quarterback, or he's destined to be a backup. This is a big year for him, but I would not take a shot at him at anything more than my backup quarterback.
He's a plug-in when you have, if you have Brady or Breeze, a bye week for your starting quarterback.
And you're holding your breath when you put him in that.
Please let them be playing Oakland or, something like that. So, Vincent Jackson, great, very good receiver, came over from San Diego a year ago.
Has not done the same since he's put on the Tampa Bay uniform.
I thought, he did fairly well. He didn't have, huge numbers like he had in San Diego, but he was decent,
Decent.
He did well. Mike Williams.
But there's so many receivers out there that, he's just another guy since he went to the Bucks.
Let's see. We also have Luke Stalker, the tight end. Don't worry about that. It's nothing there. Lawrence Tynes, he's out with MSRA infection. Apparently, they picked that up in when they were scrimmaging against the Patriots.
Yeah, there were like 5 or 6 players that ended up getting.
Nobody from the Patriots.
Infection.
Nobody from the Patriots suffered any infections at all.
No, not with that we know of. With the Patriots, somebody
Seemed to
might
all
have
be in the locker room.
Somebody might have, and they keep things so secretively that we wouldn't know.
You'll never find out. You'll never.
But
find
whatever
out.
the case is, Lawrence Tynes may miss the whole year.
Yeah, and Ryan Lindell, that's your kicker for Tampa Bay. And finally for the Jets, Geno Smith's been named the starter. I believe today it was. He was named the starter.
Throw Tampa's defense against him if you have him.
Yeah, if you have Tampa Bay's defense, grab them now. Chris Ivory's the only one that you'd want to remotely even fathom about taking on this. Everybody else is, they run a lot. That's the only saving grace. He's going to get a lot of carries. Maybe just by sheer repetition, he'll be able to score you some points. I stay clear of all Jets.
If you're in a league that you get points for number of carries but not much yards, he may.
If you're in a carry-heavy, strong league, that'd be about it. Jeremy Curley might be all right. That is if Geno Smith can stay upright, stay healthy. Stephen Hill, Santonio Holmes coming back from injury. And
they're just not going to have anybody get them the ball.
Yeah, it's
whether Sanchez or Geno Smith, they're going to have a lot of trouble generating some offense.
Does Mark Sanchez is he trying to go for the Don McNabb look with that big goatee and the long hair and the little headband going back? He was a decent looking guy, but he grew his hair out. He looks scary now.
Maybe he's trying to hide in New York.
I don't know. That could be, yeah. All right, we're going to take a little break here and come back, finish up some of the other games, some of the matchups. This is Fantasy Football from the 810 Zone in Leawood on 810 WHB TV. We'll be back in a moment.
Golf and fitness training program is also about injury prevention and prolonging your golf life, and our revolution the ball farther, straighter, lower your handicap, feel better during your round and after. The Elite Golf and Fitness Training Program, in conjunction with the Titleist Performance Institute, is proud to be able to provide the most comprehensive golf, fitness, and performance programs available today. The only facility in the Midwest to offer TPI 3D high-speed biomechanical swing analysis and full physical evaluations and training. Our programs are about building a strong core and working on the proper movements needed in order to make a consistent and repeatable solid golf swing. The Elite Golf and Fitness Training Program is also about injury prevention and prolonging your golf life. And our revolutionary fitness program does this by helping you get mechanically stronger and teaching you how to move properly. Stop by and visit our state-of-the-art golf performance studio, located inside the 68 Inside Sports facilities at 88th and Neiman and Overland Park. Or visit our website at EliteGolfFitness.com for more information. No matter your fitness level or golf level, if you want to improve your golf game, then Elite Golf and Fitness is for you.
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
You don't just punch off, you don't skate. If you lean into me,
All right, back on Fantasy Football Wednesday, I guess we could call it, from the 810 zone in Leawood. Come on down and say hello. We got a 810 2013 football guide. A lot of jam-packed information in here.
Free magazine.
Free. That's what I love about that. Located down here on 119th Street, right? 4800 West and 119th in Leawood. Come on down and say hi. Brian McRae. Signing autographs after the show here. I would be too, but I don't think anybody would be standing in line. Maybe my 7-year-old.
That's good.
And my 7-month-old if she could actually stand. But that's a little farther down the line. All right, let's get back to some of the games here. We got 8 more to get through. We'll kind of run through these here. Next up is the Titans and the Steelers. Chris Johnson, what do you think? Would you draft him this year?
I would draft him, but I would draft him late. How much are they going to use him? How much does he have left?
Yeah. He's great if he can break he's feast or famine. He'll have last year it was horrible for the most part. He'd have 18, 19 carries for 7 yards, it seems. But then sometimes
their offensive line was terrible, was inconsistent. And I think his play showed in that.
He could also break it open as well, for, a 75-yard touchdown and pretty much, save your fantasy team that week. So, for me, I would stay away from him. I just don't think I could.
Draft him late.
Yeah. I mean, for where he's going, though, in drafts, I don't think I can trust the guy to be on my fantasy team. So, I'm kind of staying away from him. Jake Locker's a quarterback. You got Kenny Britt back there again, along with Nate Washington. Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright's hurt now. Nothing much to like for this team. They brought in Sean Green from the Jets and could get some goal line work.
And I think he's going to push to get more touches back there, which would concern me if I was going after Johnson, because they don't think he can take the punishment and the grind, so
yeah,
some of his carries are going to get taken away.
I watch that guy and he just jukes around and stuff like that. I'm like, just run up the field for crying out loud. You're not fooling anybody, buddy. He tries to get out in the open field.
But he's small, and that's his game.
He gets out, he gets in the open field, but I mean, he gets tackled more times than not. He doesn't. He thinks he's going to go one way, and he tries to go the other, and they just are on him. Not much from Tennessee side. Let's go to Pittsburgh side. Ben Roethlisberger back again. There's not going to be Le'Veon Bell. He's going to be out for a little while. A lot of people thought he might be gone for the year. They thought it might turn into a Liz Frank injury on his foot, but now they're saying he's not going to need surgery, and he could be back. Some people are drafting him. I'm kind of just that it's a running back by committee.
Yeah, if you have a good stable of running backs, maybe you draft him and sit on them.
Yeah, if one of your guys gets injured, usually I'm drafting the guys going to get the ball the most, and then my backup running backs are usually like guys that be in on third down, passing downs, might get some looks, some receptions too. So, Isaac Redman's a starter for the Steelers week 1. Antonio Brown's been there. There's no more Mike Wallace out there to vulture catches. Mike Wallace, speedster, also. Brown was the slot receiver, getting a lot of catches over the middle. I think they're asking a lot more from him. Emmanuel Sanders is out there as well. And Heath Miller surprised a lot of people. He got a lot of, Ben Roethlisberger was talking to him up last year about how he's going to,
who does Ben trust?
Yeah. Heath Miller's probably the safest guy out there. Hopefully the line stays healthy enough to keep him upright and on the field. That guy.
Yeah, that's an offense.
You talk about a quarterback took a beating last year.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger.
That's an offense that I don't think is going to be able to generate a whole lot of points on a week in and week out basis.
Yeah, I'm looking at Antonio Brown in PPR leagues and maybe Heath Miller. If you didn't, you had to wait and grab a tight end late.
Maybe
Heath Miller. So that's all for that game. Let's go to the Seahawks and the Panthers. Seattle, main focus is going to be Marshawn Lynch once again. Nice if you're in a keeper league. You might want to look at Christy. What is his name? I'm trying to Christy Michael. Christian Michael, I think is how it looks like Christy, but it's Christian Michael. He's the backup. I think the handcuff you want to have for Marshawn Lynch in case his back starts flaring up. But Marshawn Lynch is going to be the focal point. I think he has a good offensive line as well. They do have Golden Tate, which would be a nice sneaky play. I think he's going to get a lot of looks. He's a running back or receiver going late in most drafts, and I think he could have a lot of catches this year and look real. He's not going to get that end of the game touchdown against Green Bay like he did last year.
Yeah, that probably won't happen again.
That was you got.
What do you see, Russell Wilson? You see him coming back to the pack at quarterbacks?
I think I like him. It's tough to decide who
But are there better guys to be your number one?
Well, they're always better guys, but I think at the rushing quarterback like Kaepernick, RG3, and Wilson, I probably would go Kaepernick first. He doesn't have all the offensive weapons, I think, and San Fran that he'd like to. Patton's going to be coming on. He's a rookie receiver. We'll talk about him in a little while, but Wilson probably be second, and I would probably go RG3. RG3, I think they're going to kind of keep in the pocket a little bit more.
Or try to.
They got Pierre Garçon out there, and Fred Davis. Other than that, I don't know what they're going to do, and they're going to run the ball more, I think, in Washington. So I would probably go Kaepernick first, and then Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is going to be really strong, and they got a young team. And I think they're going to be very good for years to come. And you think of NFC West. You normally don't think Seattle. I mean, it used to be the Rams, but San Francisco and Seattle, they're going to be duking it out. They're the two top defensive fantasy.
Yeah, Pete Carroll couldn't do it at college those last few years, but he's done a good job there in Seattle.
He's good. He whines a little bit too much for me. When things are going well for Seattle, it's great. The bad call, he's like Chris Carter for the Vikings. He was always whining about everything. So Marshawn Lynch, Sidney Rice. He'll be there. Percy Harvin has been amazing. If you're a Viking fan, the Vikings are my second team. Vikings are usually the ones getting the short end of the stick on all these trades. They did with the Herschel Walker trade back in the day. Percy Harvin, they actually traded him away for like 2 number 1 picks. Percy Harvin hasn't even stepped on the field yet for Seattle,
and may not step on the
field.
And
may never step on the field again. So he's not going to be around. Some people are taking him for keeper leagues maybe for next year. They'll draft him late in the rounds and hang on to him. If you have an IR spot, you might want to put Percy Harvin on there. And next year, hopefully, you might reap a little bit of the benefits there. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in an away game for the Chiefs. What do you think?
Well, I think that the offense of the Jaguars is non-existent.
This is true. This is true. They don't have a lot of weapons. I do like Maurice Jones-Drew, though. I think he actually is going to be a good play. He's taken third, fourth round. I've seen him go in some, and people that got him.
Yeah, he's coming off an injury.
Yeah, and he held out last year. He tried to get a big contract. It didn't happen. He's going to be a free agent next year, so he's going to be looking for it's a contract year, and usually in contract years they tend to play. You don't want to think they do, but they tend to play when they're playing for a big contract. This is going to be the last one he's probably going to get.
This team here.
They're not that good.
They're not a good football team.
But Maurice Jones-Drew, I think he's solid. He's a solid play. That will be the focal point there. They're not going to get much from Blaine Gabbert, Chad Henne.
They've changed some things with Gabbert, but I need to see more.
Justin Blackmon, you like him?
I'd like him if he wasn't suspended.
Yeah, he's going to be, and you're going to get him late. I think he'll come on strong once he comes back.
But I just don't think they have the guy behind center to get him the ball enough, and he was very inconsistent last year, and you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And being on a bad ball club, being on a bad team, I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you find that being an athlete, if you're on a good team, bad team, do you think you play a little different, or I
don't think you play different. I just think the circumstances are different because you don't have talent around you, so you can't do certain things.
Yeah,
they can't throw the ball downfield a lot.
Yeah,
in Jacksonville, they can't get the ball to him where Blackman can make a guy miss and break along. They can't do those things because they have a lack of talent on that ball club. And I don't think that you play different. Your circumstances are different because you're not as good.
Another team, Jacksonville, you have some receivers, Cecil Shorts. A lot of people liking him. I think it's going to be another team that's going to be playing from behind. Some more garbage time points for them.
You're going to get garbage time, but are you going to get garbage time points?
I
think
do like
they're going to move. They may move the ball because teams are in prevent and all that, but I just don't see them.
I'm looking more at a PPR league, I guess.
But I still don't see them.
Not going to put up 45 points a game.
They're not going to score a lot of points, but I don't see a lot of receivers that are going to have, 10 catches for, 100 yards and, things like that. I just don't see that offense doing those type of things. When they move the ball, they don't go very far.
Run a play, maybe pass it, and then punt the ball out. Yeah, then they'll punt. On the Kansas City Chiefs side, Andy Reid, new head coach.
New head coach that has had success with multiple quarterbacks doing it the way that he does it. Alex Smith.
He's not sexy, but
with a chip on his shoulder coming from San Francisco and what happened there.
He gets a job. You shouldn't lose your job to an injury, but he did when Colin Kaepernick stepped in.
I think that now we know that maybe Jim Harbaugh knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, I like Colin Kaepernick, and this is the only time I was actually unfriended on Facebook. I was just basically talking about the game. I had a guy who was a big Green Bay Packer fan, and he unfriended me. Didn't like that. I think Kaepernick. He was a little frustrated. I thought Green Bay would actually. The first half, they couldn't figure it out. You think the second half, lucky would come out and solve the problems. They still couldn't stop the guy, and they just went crazy.
But I think the Chiefs' offense will be better. Jamal Charles still is going to be the focal point of that offense. He's going to get the majority of the carries. He's going to be the guy that kind of dictates what they do and who they are offensively.
With Andy Reid coming over, basically a lot of people are saying, okay, Kansas City's offense is going to look like Philadelphia's was. Jamal Charles, he's going to be playing the little Sean McCoy role, and he'll be getting a lot of catches.
In a perfect world, but it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I think they may morph into that type of team later, but for right now, it's still going to be Jamal Charles getting the bulk of the carries. Dwayne Bowe, probably.
What do you think about him?
I think that with a good quarterback, he could be an elite receiver.
I think Smith's got the arm, and Andy Reid. Let's
see if they go downfield enough.
With Andy Reid, though, they will go downfield. Andy Reid likes big receivers, big tall receivers. I think Dwayne Bowe fits that mold. I think Dwayne Bowe is a very sneaky. He could be a top 5 receiver this year.
But I like that.
And you can get him late.
Can do more than they could do in the past.
Yeah.
Just don't know if
they'll win more than 2 games. Trust me.
Yeah, they'll win more. The defense is better. I would take the Chiefs' defense. They're going to have a lot of takeaways. I think they're going to have a chance to run back. Some defensive touchdowns. Things like that. I think that special team wise, this defense is going to be able to get your takeaways and do some things that they weren't able to do in the past.
They'll play Jacksonville the first week, and then you get Oakland twice. You got Buffalo in there.
It's a favorable schedule to. They're going up against some young quarterbacks. So I think sacks and interceptions, they're going to be able to – they should be a lot better in that category than they were last year.
All right, let's move on to the Cardinals. They've got the 3 o'clock games, I guess you could say, the 3:25 games. Got the Arizona Cardinals against the Rams. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer takes over the helm now, and actually I think he will find Larry Fitzgerald. And
he will try to find.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald's season last year was just abysmal. It's hard to see that. You see a great receiver. I think he's the best receiver in the National Football League, but he's just on such a bad team. And it's like the owners, they don't really want to try to make them better. I mean, they're starting to do it. I think a little bit. They brought Rashard Mendenhall in. I guess he's an upgrade. But
I think the key to Larry Fitzgerald will be what Michael Floyd does.
Yeah, I agree with that. Floyd would be a good play, and Andre Roberts. Depending, there's always one of those receivers teams that goes down every year with injury, and the other one steps in. And because usually they'll focus in, defense will focus in on Fitzgerald because he's pretty much their only player.
Right, but I think Floyd is going to be a big key to open up things. Because he had shown the ability to be that type of elite receiver in the past. And if he can do that, then that makes him have 2 deep threats, 2 huge guys there. Fitzgerald is one of the best or the best. I think Michael Floyd could be a guy not in that same breath, but he showed that ability. Let's see if he can finally get there and not be a guy that they project to do things, but can finally do it.
Yeah, stay away from the running game for Arizona. The offensive line, they tried to shore it up. They drafted an offensive lineman first round. He's out now for the season. The offensive line is just it's probably one of the worst ones there. So if you got
that leads to you to think that Carson Palmer
is going to be under duress a lot. Yeah, he's going to be running for his life a little bit. But I like him better. I like him better than the Cobb last year, I believe.
Yeah, and I like him better in this situation than what he was in last year.
Yeah,
not that it means a whole lot.
Yeah, you can only go up from where you were last year. For the St. Louis Rams, Sam Bradford on the quarterback. Under center, they have Darrell Richardson. He's going to be their main running back. He's probably one of the last running backs off the board that's a starter, I guess you would say. He's going to get, I think, the bulk of the work, And if anything's said about repetition, getting the ball a lot, he might be all right. But other than that, they got Tavon Austin.
They don't score enough for me. If you're going to take anybody from the Rams and think they're going to play for you each week,
I do like
it. I wouldn't. There's not anybody that's a every week player.
Not an every week. Yeah, they're more plug and play. I do like Tavon Austin. They say Chris Givens. He's going to be the big the receiver out there, getting most of the looks and stuff like that. But I like Tavon Austin, especially if you're in a league like I have one league, you're rewarded for return yards. So I think Tavon Austin with PPR, getting receptions and the return yards,
because they're going to be behind a lot, which means teams are going to kick off to them a lot.
That could be,
so return yards could be big.
And they haven't opened up a lot of the what they're showing. So if you're looking at the stats for the box score for the preseason, you're not going to see a lot from Tavon Austin. I did have a couple nice plays, but most of that playbook will be opened up, and they'll get him more involved as the season goes on. But I think the first few weeks we'll kind of see what the Rams have as far as that goes. All right, let's move in to the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be a great matchup in the afternoon. Green Bay Packers at San Fran. Another amazing matchup of the NFC Championship game, I believe. So who do you like for both the teams? They're good. I mean, Green Bay is...
You can take your pick. I think with Green Bay...
I look at the defenses first here. I mean, they both can put points up. San Fran's defense is far and above superior to Green Bay.
They're going to have some takeaways.
But Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, so he'll get it.
With the Packers, you look at is Jordy Nelson healthy?
Yeah.
You look at
can James Jones hang on to the ball?
Can he hang on to the ball?
Jamarco Finley as well, the tight end.
And I think he's going to be used a lot. I would like him. If I had one of my first picks as tight end, I would go with him.
With Jamarco Finley.
Jamarco Finley.
All right, Randall Cobb. He's a stud. He was last year. If you managed to grab him late, he's a poor man's Percy Harvin, they called him, but he was great. I picked him up. Fantasy football. I always find that you don't win it from the draft. You're not going to win your league from the draft. If you're going to pay,
but you can lose it from the lab.
You definitely can lose it. But I mean, if you draft a decent team or whatever, like I think I'd like to try this sometime. Just like I'll have somebody auto pick, and just build it through the season. Because a lot of my guys, like Randall Cobb, I picked up, at the beginning of the season, and some of these guys, if you're following along and pick up players in free agency, that's what's going to win you your league. That's what sets you apart from other people. You got to kind of study up and pay attention.
Well, you need your big guys too to be consistent.
You need to produce. Yeah.
Your first 2 or 3 picks, they have to be pretty consistent.
Yeah. Adrian Peterson last year, nobody thought he was going to be coming back. He was taken late, so you maybe grabbed Doug Martin and you had Adrian Peterson. You pretty much rode those 2 guys to your championship. But Green Bay, they got Aaron Rodgers, Eddie Lacy. What do you think about him?
Solid.
He's solidly built and. Small sample size. He hasn't really played in the NFL, not a regular season game anyway. Some preseason work, I guess. But
I think he could be a solid guy.
Yeah, they're not Green Bay's just they're not a running team, know. And
they don't beat you that way.
Yeah, the offensive line kind of shows. I don't think the offensive line is that great in Green Bay. But Eddie Lacy, he's gonna get the bulk of the carries there, and but we all know it just kind of goes for Aaron Rodgers. For San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick, the run and go offense. Nobody's figured it out yet. Do you plan on people figuring it out this year? They did with Michael Vick.
Yeah, they're going to make some changes to how they attack that offense, and we'll see how Kaepernick, how they adjust to it and what they do. They're not going to be able to do the same thing they did last year. They're not going to catch anybody by surprise.
Yeah, but the guys just, you think of rushing running backs, they can run the ball, whatever, but their accuracy is not that great. Colin Kaepernick, he's got great accuracy. He used to be he used to be a pitcher. The guys, he can throw he used to throw 95-mile fastballs, and the guy has got a lot of zing. He's got a cannon for an arm.
But the things that he was able to do last year,
he doesn't have Michael Crabtree though.
Were maybe because teams weren't able to prep for it and scheme for it. Now they're going to be able to do that.
But not just the rushing part. Just the passing part. Because he'll stay back and throw the ball.
Everything that that's part of it.
He's very accurate though.
Right.
You have to admit, for that big of a guy, that guy can run the ball. He's tough to bring down. And normally you don't see accuracy like that. I think he has that. He's got a great touch on the ball, rolling out to the side, throwing across his body.
But we'll see this is year 2.
True. Anquan Bolden's there now. I came over from Baltimore. He'll be all right, I guess. He'll be able to move the chains for him. Get you some touchdowns once in a while.
Big body to throw to.
Yep. Quentin Patton, the rookie. Did you hear about him? He was. Usually when you're signed by a team, you're not allowed to report to the facilities until a certain day, otherwise you can get in trouble with it. He was he was getting ready to get on a plane. He was telling Coach Harbaugh he's coming. He's like, no, dude, turn around, go back. You can't. Yeah, we both get in trouble. You can't do that. So he's very eager to play. I kind of like him. I don't know what to expect from him, but if you want a deep sleeper, that might be your guy to grab there. Quentin Patton. Vernon Davis, they're thinking about lining him up all over the place. Antonio Gates, maybe take a couple snaps as well. Who knows?
They use him in a lot of different roles, and I think that this year, because of maybe some of the changes that defenses are going to throw at the Niners, that his role may expand a little bit.
Do you think he's going to be a top 5 tight end though by the end of the year?
I think so.
You think he is?
I think they're going to use him differently, and he may turn into that guy.
He has big games, but sometimes I think he just checks out sometimes, and he's just not involved.
I think this will be maybe a year that he gets it all together.
It could be. Yeah. I would be fine with going if I had him as a tight end. I'd be fine, I guess. But he's a little sketchy at times for me. Moving into the Sunday night game. It's going to be the Giants and the Cowboys. Eli Manning versus Tony Romo. Who do you like in this game? I think they got the Giants by 1.5, so they're expecting a big shootout. Usually when these two teams play each other,
well, I don't like what I saw out of the offenses in the preseason. Both offenses.
Yeah, the Giants did not look good. It's going to be David Wilson getting most of the carries. Brown's going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. So, it's going to be a tough game. Defensively, I think, because I think both these teams are very good offensively. Going to throw the ball around and get it done. Usually, when these two teams play, it's just a lot of points scored. Normally, during the season, you don't see a lot. I do like Jason Witten for the Cowboys. He was a big PPR machine. A lot of receptions last year. One game, I think he had 17, 21 catches, something like that in one game.
That's what we talked about Roethlisberger and Heath Miller.
Yeah,
Romo he knows that Des Bryant may be in the wrong place. And he also knows that Witten is always in the right place. Yes. So who does he trust?
Yes. You got to move the chains.
But you got to throw the ball to a guy that you trust. You know he's going to be where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, Des Bryant, and I think Des Bryant, he's been working real hard. I think he'll have his best season of his career coming out. I like Austin. I think he's back again. You got to worry about the hamstrings acting up on him, but I think he's good to go. You can never predict injury, I guess, but I like Austin where he's going in drafts. I think he's a nice play,
he's
nice deal.
Going pretty high in drafts.
Yeah. Let's move into the Giants. Let's start DeMarco Murray real quickly about the Cowboys. What do you think about DeMarco Murray?
I don't like the running game.
They don't have a great running game there.
No. So he would be the type of guy that I would have as a backup.
Yeah, a flex play maybe. I mean, if he stays healthy, he's good.
And just watch how they use him as the season goes on. But I don't like the way they have utilized their running backs the past few years.
Moving into the Giants, Eli Manning back again. He's got Victor Cruz. He should be out there. Hakeem Nicks, both these guys, especially Nicks. Nicks, he's always seems to be getting dinged up. If he's out there and healthy, he's great. I'd have him as a number one receiver on my team, but
I don't think you can count on both of those guys making it through the season without missing some time.
They got Ruben Randall to back up once one of those guys. I'm kind of like predicting the future already, I guess. Once one of those guys goes down, he'll be stepping in there, so he could be like a nice pickup there. David Wilson going to be getting most of the work. Brandon Myers, their tight end. I think he's a good play. Brandon Myers is usually Eli Manning likes to find the tight end quite often. Let's move into the Monday night game. There's a doubleheader Monday night, as there is all the time, and it seems to be that San Diego seems to be playing in this one. I just do the fact that
they're on the West Coast.
They're on the West Coast. This one,
you can play a late game with those guys.
The game starts at 9:15. Once Texas goes up by 21 points, I think I'm done watching it. But in fantasy football, you're always cheering like it's going to be the last
guy to get your points.
Well, like even if you're down, that's going to be one of the last games. It's like, what if you have Ryan Matthews on that, and you're like, Ryan Matthews, please! I just need one touchdown and 30 yards, and in the back of your head, it's probably not going to happen because Ryan Matthews. The great statistic, I love this. He had more collarbone fractures last year than he did touchdowns.
That's not good.
2-1.
That's not a good thing. Well, I think when you look at the Chargers, you used to think Phillip Rivers,
Antonio Gates,
and
Vincent Jackson,
Darren Sproles.
Yeah,
when he was there,
and Turner, they're all.
It's a different offense now. They're not as powerful. Rivers is not the same quarterback.
Gates is getting old. Gates
is getting old and injured, so they're not as high powered of an offense as they used to be. I don't know if there's anybody offensively that I would have as an everyday guy or every week guy that I put out there as part of this Chargers team.
Yeah, maybe Gates, I guess, if you tight end.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but you don't. That's a stretch because you don't know, can he stay healthy or not?
Yeah, and the turf toe, it takes a long time. You basically got to stay off the thing. I think he's healthy enough, but again, the age is kind of
right. It can turn at any time.
Exactly. Let's take a look at the Texans. Royals are scoring runs apparently, which is always good. It's always good. Houston Texans. Matt Shaw back again. It's the Arian Foster show, and he's not going to get all the looks. Ben Tate's going to come in there, and they're going to be for at least the first couple weeks till they feel Arian Foster's back full. I think temper expectation. You have Arian Foster, you draft him in the first round. Hopefully, you grab Ben Tate. Maybe you want to play them both. That'd be fine, especially against the San Diego Chargers. What do you take? What's your thoughts on Houston?
I just think this is another one of those scenarios where we're just going to have to see how it plays out as the season goes on.
The receivers in Houston, you have Johnson out there. Andre Johnson, he's got
a lot of yards, but not a lot of touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and he's great. He's always being looked at when they move the chains. He's always getting the looks. They moved on. They got DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people like him as a sleeper, the rookie. What do you think about Hopkins?
On rookies.
You haven't seen anything from him. But you know what? Randy Moss, he was a rookie at one time too. So I mean,
but coming out of college,
comparing him to Randy Moss.
Coming out of college, what did you hear on some of these guys? And that's the thing to me. I don't particularly want to have rookies on my roster on any of my fantasy teams. I may pick them up later, but I won't draft one.
I don't mind a rookie running back, if he's on a good team. He's going to get the workload. But yeah, receivers, you do have to temper expectations, I guess, on them. Let's the final match. We should probably have done this one first, but we jumped right to San Diego because we were very excited about the Chargers. But this will probably be the better matchup on Monday night. It's the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Redskins. What do you like on this one?
Well, I like the two quarterbacks, the different styles. You have Michael Vick, who's the older version of RG3. that has kind of changed.
Is he that old now?
Changed his game around.
He is kind of.
He's been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah, 2 in jail, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, you look at he used to play for Atlanta. You forget about that, but
right.
You think.
And
it's
he was the guy that was getting all the hype like RG3 is. So it'll be interesting to watch those two on the same field. Eagles offensively.
New coach. We got Chip Kelly from Oregon.
Right. So what kind of pace are they going to try to play?
They're going to try to run as many offensive plays as they possibly can, but you got to think it's like how many.
That's a good thing?
Yeah, you could be run as many offensive plays as you can, but you can't run many offensive plays if you're not moving the chains. So they don't have Jeremy Maclin; he's out for the season. They have Deshaun Jackson in there for the receiver. They got Cooper in there too, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch Monday night.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see if they can pull off what Chip Kelly was able to do at Oregon.
And I think that's going to take a little bit of time, too, to make that happen. And let's see, they got nobody really for their tight end. A guy named Zach Ertz is the starting tight end for Philadelphia, according to our depth chart. It's basically LaShawn McCoy. He's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to see some Bryce Brown in there as well. He looked pretty good at the end. When
I would take Brown as a backup.
Definitely.
And with a guy that, if somebody were to go down.
Oh, yeah, but LaShawn, he's been his concussion problems, and they can creep up once again. So Bryce Brown, I think, would be a good play. For Washington, what do you like on there? Besides RG3, of course.
I think there's some sleepers on the receiving core that haven't got a lot of play, and I think when you look at what Washington's able to do, you're thinking it's just RG3. But I like Garcon there. I think that he could go a little bit higher in some drafts.
And he's healthy now too.
He's healthy, and a guy Hankerson, I think he's a sleeper, tall, lanky receiver. I think he's going into his third year now. And I think he may be a guy. He's shown some flashes last year, but I think he could be a guy that could be a late-round pick that you could have as a reserve. And if things are clicking with this offense, he may be a guy, because he's a deep threat and a tall receiver, that may get some chances when they get down on the goal line if they throw a jump ball and things like that.
And you can't forget about Santana Moss. Or not Santana. Yeah, Santana Moss.
You're thinking about his brother, Sonoris.
Yeah. I just remember that one play.
Santana's still doing it. Still doing it in the league, but I don't think they use him in the same capacity as they have before.
Yeah, Washington's
he's more a possessing receiver now.
Yeah, and Alfred Morris, I mean, they're going to run the ball a lot in Washington, probably mostly with Alfred Morris. Roy Halou's the backup, but, you go with Alfred Morris, and we'll see if Mike Shannon stays with one running back. So Fred Davis is tight end. And that's about it. Kai Forbath, the kicker. Might be your fantasy sleeper of the year.
You think so?
For the kickers. That's who I might go with. Maybe some guys that you might want to look at. I call this like the roll of the dice or the leap of faith segment. Some guys that you might want to pick up. Might not be thinking about starting. Some guys, your second quarterback maybe. This week, I do like Alex Smith this week against Jacksonville and Tampa Bay's Josh Freeman against the Darrelle Revis-less New York Jets. Revis is now on the team. It's going to be fun to watch him playing his old team. He says he has no problem, no qualms about giving Tampa Bay all of the Jets' little tricks out there.
Well, I don't think that they even need to. As bad as the Jets are, it doesn't matter.
This is true. This is true. For Houston, Ben Tate, mentioned him before. He's going to get some looks against San Diego with Arian Foster Limited. And Shane Vereen, I do like him. He could get all Danny Woodhead's looks. He's going to get Aaron Hernandez's looks with Gronkowski out and his looks. So I think he's a very good PPR. It's a nice sneaky play there if you want to put him in there. For receivers, Devon Austin, mentioned him before, like him, and Golden Tate for Seattle. Tight ends, Cleveland, Josh Gordon. Colts, Colby Fleener. And my homer pick, the Browns defense.
Because they're playing Miami.
Yes, and it's
1 week only.
It's early in the season, and they're playing Miami. That's the only reason there. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us here, and thank you, Brian, for taking. You have a busy schedule.
Yeah, it was a hectic day, but
I drove 4 states to get here. I started in Minnesota. I
only drove 2 states.
I drove through Iowa. I will have you know. Moved to Missouri, and now I'm down in Kansas. So
I'm waiting for the games to start tomorrow so we can find out if some of these things we're talking about are worthwhile or not.
It's always nice. We look great. Otherwise, it's going to be horrible. So we're going to wrap it up from the 810 zone here in Leawood, 810 WHB TV. Coming down, I got 2013 fantasy football guides, or the football guides, I should say. Probably some fantasy information. A lot of specials here. Tonight, it's a $3 Wells. All day long. There's not certain. You can come anytime you want.
It's night now, so.
This is Wednesday. So tomorrow you want to come in and watch the game. $3 bottles, domestic pints, and Wells as well. Sunday, $12 domestic buckets. I'm not sure how much is in a bucket. But more than one, I'm going to go with. More than one. So thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday. Hopefully down here at 810 Zone in Leawood. I'm Clay Jensen and Brian McRae. Thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.